I'm Dr. Rachel Griffiths, and I'm with my father and partner in aquatics.
Dr. Tom Griffiths.
Welcome to the Drowning Files, where each week we share a lawsuit we've been involved in or another true story with suggestions to learn from these tragedies to save lives. What case do you have today?
Today's case, you and I both saw independently of one another in the media, in the local media. And it's a case involving a drowning in Canada. And in this particular case, a 14-year-old hockey player was swimming at a municipal pool with about 15 to 20 other people in the water. Ironically, he was the only one swimming in the deep end of the pool. There were three lifeguards working at the pool that day. Only one was providing patron surveillance. In other words, all three were getting paid to be there, but only one lifeguard was watching the water. When this lifeguard detected the body on the bottom of the deep end of the pool, he attempted to push the button alarm, which we had at Penn State University and some pools have, where you hit a button and it goes to 911 and a loud alarm sounds. Tried to hit that several times. It didn't work. Um, he was wearing a radio. That didn't work. The call to the 911 dispatcher, because of these failures, was delayed. And when they finally got the AED on the victim, there was no rhythm at all. It wasn't a shockable rhythm, and the boy drowned. In an investigation later, they found more discrepancies in that the staff did not know the difference between applying an AED to an adult and applying the AED to a child. The person at the entry desk was not taking head counts, did not know how many people were in the water, and there were myriad of failures prior to this event happening. Now, this we don't know if there was a lawsuit in Canada. They sue a lot less than in the United States. It seems like everyone on the globe sues less than the United States. But we don't know of a lawsuit, and we don't have all the information. It's just what you and I, Rachel, read in the papers, um, and and, um, and those are the facts that we know. But this case, it seems like the 14-year-old boy, could swim. Everyone was in the shallow water, and he swam to the deep end and apparently was swimming towards the shallow end when he was last noticed. So all of these failures are bad, and all of these failures in the rescue response to the victim on the bottom of the pool, who was totally unconscious and did not have a shockable rhythm, are just negligent. However, we don't know if everything worked totally correctly, if the radio, if the 911 button worked well, if 911 was contacted immediately, if the AED was properly applied, if everything was done according to the textbook. Would this young 14-year-old boy still have survived? Because you have to remember, the lifeguard noticed him when he was unconscious on the bottom of the pool. We don't know how long he was there. So, if this was a lawsuit, the two sides fighting each other in this case, the plaintiff representing the family of the boy who perished, and the defendant trying to defend the facility from liability, what would happen is the plaintiff would say, well, you had all these failures. The emergency button didn't work. And this we see a lot. You had three lifeguards working, only one was watching the pool. You had more lifeguards not watching the pool than were watching the pool, and we see that frequently. And the AED problems, and all of these delays in getting emergency personnel to the pool, um, were wrong, and therefore the defendant the facility is negligent and they're guilty. But the defense is going to say, you're right. The emergency button didn't work, and we've corrected that. And yes, there was only one lifeguard watching the water, but if there were three lifeguards watching the water, would that have meant that they would have seen this boy on the bottom? And you and I have discussed and presented how both physically and psychologically it's very difficult to see someone on the bottom of the pool. So it would be a fight back and forth. But as we look at it today, yes, there were many lapses in the emergency response. But even if that emergency response was perfect, would that boy still be alive today? So we don't know the outcome of this. We do know that the facility has made many, if not all, changes to their emergency response. But the key, as we always say, is better to stress the proactive prevention of not having someone sink to the bottom of the pool through constant good positioning and vigilance of the lifeguards and surveillance, but also drowning detection technologies that would alert you to this boy being on the bottom of the pool. And yes, you do have to respond appropriately with proper life saving techniques and resuscitation. But once you pull a person off the bottom of the pool, young or old alike, it's really touch and go whether or not you're going to resuscitate that person. So that's a case that I decided to talk about today.
And how do so many things go wrong, and how do you prevent
Yeah.
all those things from going wrong?
Yeah, that's a great question. I thought about it and was going to mention it, but I forgot. So I'm so glad you mentioned it. There's no way that regular emergency action plans were practiced on a regular basis at this facility. I mean, I don't know that for a fact, but you just couldn't have all of these things go wrong, including the emergency button, the failure of the radio to work. You couldn't have all of these dominoes falling and not doing regular emergency action plans, which should probably be done at least once a week. Because if you were practicing emergency action plans where you actually push the emergency button and you actually use your radio to call 911 or whatever and tell them you're going to do this test. We used to do our test Sunday mornings at Penn State University when the facility was closed. We run through all of the emergency equipment and technology to make sure that it was functioning correctly. So the way to prevent that bad response is to make sure you run through it using all of your equipment on a regular basis and check off that you've done that.